Hello, it is me, fucking Nestor, your favorite anarcho-nihilist host, and I got a guest with you. Guest with me. It is Nikolai. Hello, Nikolai.
Hello there. My name is Nikolai. I'm a religious anarchist that is also kind of pragmatic, and today we're going to be reacting to FinnishBolshevik's response to Libertarian Socialist Rants video about red bureaucracy. Are you ready, Nestor?
I'm fucking ready.
All right, let's get this over with.
Okay.
Yeah.
From private farms to socialism, but they're not an ideal form, they're not an end goal. You don't just want to set up co-ops and then be like, oh well, I guess we have perfect communism now, because you don't. A co-op is something where a bunch of workers get together and they own a piece of property together, but it doesn't eliminate property. It doesn't make...
Wait. You're leaving out the part where they own the means of production.
Yeah.
You're leaving that part out.
I was just about to say.
It's not just owning property. It's owning the means of production.
Yeah, sure. Owning private property is a means to profit, but that's you forgot the part where they own the means of distribution and production.
Like,
they allocate resources without any authority to do so.
Honestly, look, we could talk about market socialism all we want. That's a whole other thing. But like,
that's a whole other.
Let's be real here.
Let's
be real here. Market socialism is not like just owning property. That's not how it works.
Honestly,
or at the very least, it's not how it's supposed to work.
Honestly,
it's like owning the means of production.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's all. Honestly, if like all this shit about production value that Marxists talk about and fucking value and shit, it's like realistically in a communist society, if you want your true communist society, then there would be no value to worry about. There would be a valueless society, completely valueless, determined off of personal value. Here's the thing: production value and shit like that, they're all fucking fairy tales.
Well, here's the thing too. I should probably ask, dang it, I forgot what I was gonna say. Can we replay the clip just so that way I can remind myself?
Yeah, sure.
Are not socialism, okay? You can have co-ops in capitalism. The Soviet Union employed collective farms as a means to transition away from private farms to socialism. But...
And I wonder how that went out.
They're not an ideal form, they're not an end goal. You don't just want to set up co-ops and then be like, oh well, I guess we have perfect communism now.
No, okay. So, first of all, co-ops are just a method of worker organization, independent co-ops. Number two, collectives have done virtually, like collectives in themselves have done virtually nothing for society when it comes to fucking basically economic means. What has really done good for the left is, I would say, individual free associations that work in mutual self-interest, not these fucking collectives that literally just enforce fucking horrible law and just assert their will over others. I'm more of an individualist anarchist, as you can tell, but the collective farming was centralized, and it would have gone way better if it wasn't.
Yeah, almost like as if workers could have just taken over the farms.
Yeah, it would just become an individual free association. That's
which,
all
by the way, I should clarify too. When it comes to workers deciding to actually own the places that they work in, this has actually happened a couple of times within capitalism too. Like, for example, a few years ago within Venezuela, during a crisis, business owners walked out with factories that they owned, and the workers were just like, you know what? Let's work these places. let's run it ourselves. And they ran it pretty fine. So, like, I'm not
like,
really sure.
Actually, the central planning, all the central planning has done is literally misallocate and miscalculate the amount of resources that you need to do this shit with. And all central planning really does is just bring up incompetent military commanders to I guess command the economy, which doesn't work out so well. But that's why it's named command economy, except like it's actually a military-owned economy, and they're trying to be socialists. They're trying to do fucking methods of allocation that don't work, that simply just don't work. This is why decentralized planning is way better and way preferable. It's like, what has centralized planning ever done for anyone? You know what I mean? You know, it's
of course.
It's like, what has it done? Has it achieved anything? No, it hasn't achieved anything. Has it, played a big role? Has it played a big role? Sure, yeah, but a really bad big role. And third of all, has it basically benefited or benefited society? No. And also, with Mao's the farming collectives almost became free associations because the basically commanders or the party officials were not really watching that much. Basically, they let the workers do whatever they let the farmers do whatever they want, and it turns out it worked for a while. It worked for a while until yet again they basically what happened was that I'm pretty sure the Central Command commanded them to plan it a certain way, and that caught up to them.
That's I love Lysenkoism,
Yeah. Mao. That's why I say Mao did some good at the beginning, but the free associations, I would even call them, almost ended up churning into they because of the famine that was Mao's fault, ended up churning into fucking bureaucratic collectives which have failed miserably. And only by reforms, with capitalist reforms, you failed when you have capitalist reforms.
True.
China started to rise. And I'm not using that as a case for capitalism. I'm saying that's a pathetic loss, and you should be ashamed of yourself for that.
Yeah. But let's continue with clips.
I think I made my statement. I think
I think the point that I was thinking of before might be coming up around here.
Okay.
But
because you don't. A co-op is something where a bunch of workers get together and they own a piece of property together. But it doesn't eliminate property. It doesn't make communism.
Okay, hold on.
Because
yep. Yet again, depending on the society, they don't profit off of it. They don't, profit off of, the whole thing. They don't profit. There's no value put in it if you want to really.
And even if there is profit, a lot of the time it will be, at the very least, spread out equitably between the workers.
Yeah,
and also this notion that property won't exist within common. I find this funny when it comes to abolishing property, because let's be real here, although property is a bit of a myth, it is certainly very persuasive within society.
I don't want to abolish property. I want to abolish private property, which private property is the means to profit. I don't want however, I don't want to abolish personal property, something that you hold personal value to, because the workers hold personal value towards that property. Plus, you can't profit if there's no value in society. You just can't. That's false.
Yeah. It's a bit of a ridiculous assumption to say that we can abolish property.
No,
abolish capitalist private property? Sure, I'll give you that, but
we can abolish private property, yeah. We can abolish, property. At that point, when you abolish property, even abolish personal valued property, at that point, you just get to fucking communalism, and it's just collectivism. It's just collectivism, but, how... yet again, how are you gonna enforce this shit? How are you gonna enforce people not personally value their own property? Also, I would argue further that things have intrinsic value, and I think that things have intrinsic value, certain intrinsic value. So in this society, two values will exist: intrinsic value and value. And like personal value. Those are the only. However, like this notion of capitalist value still existing within communist society is absolutely ridiculous. I've never seen a most stupidest and pathetic thing in my life. I've not seen.
To be fair,
okay. If you really think that, you're a fucking revisionist. Okay?
No, but here's the thing. Okay. Marx didn't even think value was a real thing. He thought that value could only really exist if you had a monetary form to express it. And so once you abolish the commodity form, once you abolish money, well, you just got rid of value.
Yeah, you just...
At the very least, exchange value.
Exchange value, not like, and also production value and all that shit. You've got rid of all that shit and, you know, prices and shit, and you've also got rid of, but I would argue that there's always going to be personal value and intrinsic value. That's just something that's undeniably true. Like, I mean, yet again, You don't usually see me moderate on this shit, but yeah, I'm fairly moderate on intrinsic and personal value. I believe that what makes something personal value is that they get entertainment or personal enjoyment out of it. Which obviously, if someone owned a house, personally, they would get personal value and get, you know, entertainment and get, you know, their shit out of it. And not only that, I would say that I would go further to say that. If workers collectively own a factory, okay? If they collectively own a factory, if they have a free association, everything, it's not private property because they aren't profiting off of it. What they're doing is they hold personal value off of it, and they're contributing to the community, and basically what they're doing is they're getting access to resources. That isn't necessarily profit. You can only have profit when you have value, which value is non-existent in this society.
To clarify on my end on my thoughts of value, I don't believe in like a measurable type of value. Generally speaking, when it comes to determining prices and stuff, I generally subscribe to administrative prices or Strophian equations, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But that it's funny coming from a Christian that I don't think there's value when it comes to prices. But
what do you call it? Well, hey, you know, there are different types of Christians running around.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there are even some fairly left-hand path Christians that view, that don't admire, worship God, but admire them and, you know, all that shit. Okay, let's get back to the video.
This is off topic. Let's continue.
Yeah, okay. This is sometimes turning into a podcast.
Because what it does, it means that, well, there's a certain group of people, these workers who own this farm, and then there's other workers who own a different farm, and then there's even more people who own a different farm. They're all basically, they're being small owners. They're being petty bourgeois.
This is actually fucking revisionism, dude. This is actually revisionism. You're being a revisionist right now. You're thinking, you're having the mindset of value. You're being a fucking revisionist.
I love how
I'm using their tool on them. I'm calling them a revisionist.
I love how the state owning the means of production and like barely giving the workers any say in like their work is somehow not petty bourgeois. But then workers actually owning the means of production and just happening to be within like market competition is petty bourgeois. I love the quality right here. I'm telling you, this quality.
Petty bourgeois is everything.
I'm not even really a market kind of guy. I'm sympathetic to them, but I'm not a market person. Like, if I'm making arguments in favor of markets, then something's happening.
Yeah, I'm definitely more hard-handed. Yes, you guys can probably tell. Way more hard-handed and opinionated. Okay.
But they're just petty bourgeois together. Okay, they're not being
You're fucking stupid.
socialists.
We're
They're
petty
being
bourgeois together.
small owners.
Yes, we I own the YouTube channel, therefore I'm petty bourgeois. Wow, guys.
True.
Small owners of property. So this idea that like anarchists have this fascination that it's perfect if all these workers they just own their small little thing together, then it's worker control. But that's not socialism. That is petty bourgeois economy. What you need to do.
You're using so fucking loaded terms. I can't even tell if you're talking about socialism.
Workers owning the means of production is petty bourgeois. Yes, of course.
Yes. Free associations are petty bourgeois. Like,
look,
I'm gonna call this guy revisionist, like over and over again because this guy is.
Here's the thing. Even if we do acknowledge that the means of production is still kind of split between co-ops, that it's still owned by the workers. Either way.
By the way, I'm not even a fucking leftist. I'm a post-leftist.
I'm on the verge of post-leftism. The only thing stopping me is I'm too lazy.
You're too lazy to be post-leftist.
You need to use these collective enterprises as a transition away from that. So you could do that basically by, like, you need to make this property thing go away. You need to...
Yet again, property and it's... You guys misinterpret Marx so much, okay? If you're going by Marx's word, you would know that he says abolish all private property. Private property, not fucking, personal valued property or intrinsic valued property.
I find it funny, because this sounds familiar to, like, Proton saying property is theft. But I have a feeling they're not referring to him in that way.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
Like, they're too stupid too. So
yeah, no, Proudhon was referring to private property.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of the people in the time just referred it as property because they saw property as more of a profit when it's now we have distinguished terms from that. You know what I mean? It's like get out of the fucking 19th century, dude.
True.
To make it universal, you say that, okay, well, these people who work this collective farm, they own it now, but then over time you're gonna expand that ownership, like to, let's say, the people who just live in the area. Like, all these people who live in this town, well, they own this town together. And then you're gonna expand it further and further over time, and say that, okay, well, anyone who lives in this country owns this country. So the country is just shared by people. But you can't have this like, these people own this co-op, and then nobody else gets to decide about that co-op. Nobody else gets to own this co-op. Or
usually anarchist methods are linked via a worker federation. What do you call it? So that way, yeah, sure, the councils or the Soviets or whatever are independent, but they're all linked and work together and basically benefit society.
And actually, speaking of which, I've managed recently to look into a solution to this issue where, like, apparently no one else can decide what these co-ops do. I've managed to find out about this interesting concept of consumer co-ops, where consumers actually have, like, a say within the running of the business and whatnot. I wonder how FinnishBolshevik would respond to the idea of a consumer cooperative.
Yeah. Can I just say something that might sound crazy?
Yeah, go for it.
I'm anti-work. I believe the idea of worker is revisionism. Okay. Can I explain myself? Workers themselves is basically a capitalist term. It's basically a pseudo-capitalist term. Okay. That's what it is. It's a pseudo-capitalist term, and I'm pro-labor. I believe in labor. I believe that contributing and doing shit for the community is just enough. Okay, yeah, that's the thing. I'm anti-work. I'm pro-labor. Okay, I consider myself a laborer, not a fucking worker. workers are fucking stupid because it applies the term that, the terminology that you're working for somebody. You know what I mean? It's a capitalist slang term. That's what I think of it as.
To describe my position on anti-work and whatnot, I am too lazy to differentiate between worker and laborer. So
yeah, sometimes me too, but I make it abundantly clear that I'm anti-work. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's continue.
From this co-op, because that just creates a weird system where it's not really socialism. So,
or rather, even post-work. Actually, more post-work. Yeah, post-work.
Sorry, this anarchist co-op dream is not going to work. It's not going to result in socialism.
This process can be seen occurring in numerous.
Oh my god, I forgot we were watching a Libertarian Socialist video. Libertarian Socialist. He went off for so long.
Revolutions, and by numerous I mean just about all of them, that have adopted authoritarian socialist methods. In October 1917, in a draft decree on workers' control, the leader of the Russian Revolution, Vladimir Lenin, stated that delegates elected to exercise worker control were to be answerable to the state for the maintenance of the strictest order and discipline and for the protection of property. Nice worker control, eh?
When I was watching this video for the first time, I couldn't decide if you are stupid or if you are a liar, okay? I don't know, I think you're probably not stupid. My biggest gripe with this video is that there's an obvious counter-argument to everything you say in this video, and surely you must have heard them. I would be surprised if you literally thought there was no counter-argument. And if you do know that there is a counter-argument, then why do you act like there isn't? Like, why do you spout off this nonsense?
Get to the fucking point.
Wait, first off, the reason why he may not list the counter-argument is maybe because it's wrong.
Yeah.
Have you considered that? Also, constantly calling someone stupid for bringing up a point that Lenin basically violated workers' control the second he managed to do a revolution, I find that very intriguing. Curious.
When it's obvious that that's not the case. I mean, this is the usual, what I like to call liberal whining. It's like, oh, well, it wasn't perfect. They had some kind of discipline. Like, it's not.
Oh my god, shut the fuck up, dude. With your
hold on.
Shut the fuck up with your stupid ass revisionism. No one wants to hear you.
FinnishBolt, Lenin promised workers control.
Yeah, exactly.
Being answerable to the state for anything that is, quote, necessary for living is not exactly workers control. I'd hate to break it to you, partner.
If you're a student of history of any kind, you know this, okay? Okay, and you probably studied the Russian Revolution at least once, twice, or thrice, okay? And I don't know if you catch on to this, but I know you're a little Lenin fanboy and you like to, praise Lenin, but yet again, Lenin promised a lot of things that he didn't fulfill.
I think we should stretch that politicians only fulfill 60% of the promises that they make to just, like, anyone political.
Yeah.
Cool, man. That's not constructive criticism, okay? Again, returning you back to planet Earth, returning you back to reality. Look at what the anarchists did themselves when they were in power. They said that, like, if you don't obey our laws, and if you don't arrive to work each morning, and if you don't do as you're told, and if you don't follow our discipline, then you're gonna be in trouble. Because
nice whataboutism.
That's whataboutism.
Yeah,
false.
He never addressed the actual point that Lenin, even in 1917, rejected actual workers' control.
Yeah, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That's a whataboutism, number one. And number two, that's false. So that's just a pivot. That's a pivot and a whataboutism. And
he's probably talking about Catalonia, but...
He's talking about, he's talking about both Makhnovia and Catalonia because, they were all because Makhnovia was bandits that just run around and tell people what to do. When they gave notices that they could do whatever they want with workers' councils and shit, they could do whatever. They didn't have to squabble at, you know, the Black Army's feet. No, they didn't. Just fucking read the history of the Machnovist movement, please.
Read Marx.
Read Marx. You fucking dirty revisionist.
It's revolution time. You know, we need a certain amount of discipline when it's revolution, okay? So Lenin said that these delegates, they need to be answerable to the state. They can't just have people doing all kinds of weird things like, oh, the state is moving towards socialism by following a certain amount of policies, but then there's like this delegate who just does something totally different and goes against all the policies that have been decided. You know, that's called wrecking. You can't have a wrecking, okay? And
wait,
when Lenin said that they need to
I need to address this. If a delegate, let's assume that like 1917 didn't happen, okay? Not that. I mean, like, let's assume that like draft on workers' control didn't happen. Let's assume that we give delegates the ability to do whatever they want, just as long as they follow general guide. How about that? Let's stick with that. For a revolution, as long as the delegate sticks to a general guide, they can basically do whatever they want. If one delegate, assuming that we have a state, manages to do something weird and wacky, just kick them out.
Yeah, Fimble, by the way, Fimble, if you're watching this, I bet you're getting really pissed and getting your panties in a bunch that I'm calling you a revisionist several times. You fucking deserve it, you pedo.
Drew, I swear to God, he's going to see this and he's just going to be
He's
mad.
gonna be like, "Oh, you don't call me a pedo."
Also, how about this? We could probably just read directly from the workers' control stuff, okay? We could probably just go with that. So, I'll read points 6 and 7, okay? In all enterprises of state importance, all owners and all representatives of the workers and office employees elected for the purpose of exercising workers' control shall be answerable to the state for the maintenance of the strictest order and discipline and for the protection of property. Persons guilty of dereliction of duty, concealment of stocks, accounts, etc., shall be punished by the confiscation of the whole of their property and by imprisonment for a term up to 5 years. And by enterprises of state importance are meant all enterprises working for defense or in any way connected with the manufacture of articles necessary for the existence of the masses of population.
I'm looking at it.
That's a vague way to put it, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at this on page 30. Yeah, on page 30 of the Communist Manifesto. Yeah, no wonder they say about abolition of property. Yeah, Marx referred to it as that. But property. Basically, what he means by that is private property. Hold on. But yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Aside from that,
Just
point
refer
is,
to it as private property and get your head of the fucking 19th century, please.
true. Also, let's not forget, again, I shall refer people again to the Bolsheviks and Workers' Control, which is a pamphlet that was written to demonstrate during the early USSR how the Bolsheviks went against workers' control, and specifically when it came to the factory committees.
Oh yeah, those people are counter-revolutionary.
True.
Yeah.
But let's continue with the video.
Yeah.
Property? I mean, yeah, because they didn't want to create massive chaos. They didn't want to have people stealing shit. Yeah, we're gonna take the landowner's land away. We're gonna take the landlord.
And yet again. We saw. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. People like Machno proved that handing over the serfs' land over to the peasants is not a bad idea. It worked tremendously, and output and productivity skyrocketed. That's why the what do you call it? That's why, yet again, that's why there was so much southern Ukrainian wheat during the campaign against Denikin's army.
I love wheat.
Yes, wheat. Or I should say bread.
The funny thing is I'm going free, so...
It's land, and we're gonna nationalize industry, but we can't just have people randomly stealing shit because there's no property anymore, supposedly. They need to do things in a relatively orderly manner, because...
Yet again, private property, dude. You misinterpret Marx so much. Here, let me get a quote real quick. Oh yeah, okay, so basically, communism can be summed up in one sentence. Abolish all private property. Private property!
This is a bit of a nitpick, though, but, like...
It's a bit
again,
of a nitpick.
it's again, you can effectively let the worker delegates do what they want. With the state, too, you don't have to put them, like... Again, you don't have to put them in like the strictest order and discipline for protection and property. Like I'm.
By the way, I'm aware it's a nitpick, but I need to get that point across for people, that were watching this and are not educated about Marxism.
Yeah,
the
that's
situation
fair.
is pretty chaotic as it is. So sorry to break your.
What was that cut?
Good.
Bubble
again good ending.
The anarchists did the same thing. Again.
Hold on. Wait, I should clarify. There's a difference between preparing yourself for a revolution and subjecting yourself to the state. There's a wide difference between the two, last I recall.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to say here, because clearly the Soviet Union got rid of private property. It's not like they didn't want to get rid of private property.
Who's gonna tell him? Who's gonna tell him?
I don't know. Okay, can I? Okay, just to not elaborate. Then, Bull, give me your fucking keys. Give me your fucking keys. Give me your fucking.
But on a serious note, again, referred to the new economic plan. Referred to basically just like, you know what? Better yet, I recommend people look at the description of the Soviet model from what's the book called? I think it's like Socialist Economies and Their Transition to Market by Ian Jeffries. Which don't be like disillusioned by their transition to markets part. It's not a complete like conservative hellhole when it comes to that book. It's actually written by someone who is very educated when it came to East European economics and just in general, like how everything worked.
But no. Anyways, back to the original point.
Yeah.
Give me your fucking keys.
Let's
I just
continue.
didn't want to do it in a stupid way. Do I really seriously have to explain this to you?
Noted later in December 1917.
Wait, hold on. I just realized something. Do you think that workers will just do stupid things?
Yeah, workers are fucking stupid. Yeah, totally. Not like workers have, basically organized in mass numbers. Okay, yeah.
No, but did you hear? But did you hear? It was actually a dictatorship. Fun fact.
Yeah. It's like workers are stupid when the fucking military commander comes along and screws up everything. It's like very, very, very competent.
The national economy that had been created was to replace, absorb, and supersede the machinery of workers' control.
Again, that is just making things more efficient. First you have this group of people who are like, yeah, we're the workers now, we want to control our own things against the Kerensky government, but then when the workers themselves get into the government and they gain full control of the government, then what is the point of having this other thing anymore? Because you're already in the government. You are the government now.
And wrote it.
Okay, I'll be right back real fast. You have fun with this point. I need to just do something quick.
Yeah, I guarantee you, Lenin wasn't a fucking worker. Lenin wasn't a worker, nor was Lenin poor. They actually came from a noble family that had drama with the royal family themselves. So no, Lenin wasn't a fucking worker, and most of the people like Trotsky were like were either like petty bourgeois or like fucking, you know, all that shit. So no, that's just not true. All of them were petty bourgeois, and they control the government. Yeah. Okay, your point. You're literally. It's like they even if some Bolsheviks were other workers, you know, they subjugated their own working man, their own fellow man. That's not worker control. That's literally just autocracy and collective dictatorship. I don't know if you understand this, but the Politburo literally controlled all social networks and shit.
Also, what's this point about the government is you? I find that very intriguing. The government is you. Did the Ukrainians starve themselves?
Yeah, did the Ukrainians did the peasants die and farmers die in China on their own? Did they die? Did they get cyanide in their system? The only case with this would be of fucking government killing themselves is literally just Hitler.
True. But like this point that the government is you. I mean, sure, if it's a dictatorship and a proletariat, then sure, we could say that. But let's be real here, a dictatorship of the proletariat is not the USSR. It's the Paris Commune.
Yeah.
Which was stateless.
Yeah, also, number two, if we're going by the vanguard version of the dictatorship, the proletariat, or USSR, it was the dictatorship of the military, the fucking Red Army. This was the same case with the People's Liberation Army in China. A lot of the commanders are basically rewarded for doing absolutely nothing and getting themselves higher ranks so that way they can lobby the government easily.
Yet again, the closest example that we can have of a dictatorship of the proletariat will be Cuba, which, no matter how flawed its democracy is, how it should act is fairly robust. So I'll give it that. But, like, the USSR, as far as I understand, isn't even measured up to that kind of standard. Like, it's... Yeah. Oh, God, it's just wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, it's wrong. You're wrong.
The immediate tasks of the Soviet government that unquestioning subordination to a single will is absolutely necessary for the success of processes organized on the pattern of large-scale machine industry.
That is called a speech. That is called propaganda. That's meant to boost morale. He's saying that we are the people, we are one, we are united, we are of one will, we are of single will, we are united.
Wait.
Yay.
Wait a minute.
Look at us.
Wait.
Look at how united we are. Again, don't be an idiot. I mean, everyone knows what he's doing.
Finbolt. There's a difference between we're one, we're united, and complete subjection to the state.
Yeah.
There is a very fine difference between the two. Like...
Yeah.
Seriously going to say that when Lenin said subjection to the state, he meant like, we're one. Go USSR. Is that really what we're dealing with?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
What he's talking about.
God.
Today the revolution demands, in the interests of socialism, that the people unquestioningly obey the single will of the leaders of labour.
Yeah. You can't just have people doing other things. You're saying that, oh, we're building socialism now, and we're doing this, this, and this. You can't just have them doing something totally different. I mean, again, I would point you to Anarchist Catalonia, where they had the exact same thing.
Oh my god, we've already been over this!
You're also...
I love how you're
again, it's the whole thing. Even if even if you wanted to make sure that the delegates were doing the right thing, you didn't need to have complete subjugation to the state. You could have just had like an overseeing like council making sure everything was going to plan.
Yeah, and also,
you don't have to use complete subjugation.
I love how you also like basically have the basically point out Catalonia and say, oh yeah, blah, yeah, fair to you. But then you say, oh, it was just a bandit of rebels. Yeah. It's like as Shane Killian put it best, lies.
He's not gonna get it.
As Shane Killian, I just decided to do that. All right, let's get on.
You did a funny.
Yes, I did a
thing. They said that people have to follow these rules. They have to follow these policies that the CNT-Fi government has come up with, or otherwise they're gonna end up in trouble. They're gonna end up in prison. You need to enforce the law somehow, okay?
To accept discipline means that the
Oh my god. No one likes you.
decisions made
Can
by
we just skip
comrades
this?
assigned to
Can
any
we skip
particular
this,
task,
please?
whether administrative or military, should be executed without any obstruction in the name of liberty, solidaridad, CNT.
I love how he cites a newspaper.
Yeah, maybe you want to talk about how these laws are created. Maybe you want to talk about who gets to decide what the laws are.
You have done so many whataboutisms, it's unbelievable. Like, holy shit.
Also, you want to know who decides the laws in the USSR? The state.
Yes.
But when you decide what the laws are, then people need to follow the law, okay? What Lenin is trying to do, Lenin is trying to basically appeal to people's moral sense. He's like saying that, well,
Wait, hold on.
It is absolute.
Hold on. If you just give people like some general guidelines to follow, they will follow them. Like as long as they believe in them or whatnot, they'll follow them. You don't have to like constantly keep a lookout on them as if they're going to suddenly become a capital. No. If you just convince them of the right ideas, they'll do the good thing. They'll do the socialism. You want socialism? Convince people to do socialism.
Exactly.
You don't. I'm sorry. If you need subjugation of the state in order for people to do socialism, then you didn't do socialism.
As I said in the last video, like, you don't need the fucking state for this shit. Individual insurrection. Rebellion. Do something, you little coward, okay? You little fucking coward. By the way, I do have a place to say that because I've actually went out and convinced people. I went out of my way to do this shit. I know what I'm talking about.
Follow the decisions, and it's absolutely necessary for socialism. Because they were in hard times. They couldn't have people creating extra destabilization. But you're trying to paint it as some kind of evil totalitarianism. What is even the point of having this conversation if you don't want to talk about these things honestly? Because what you're doing is polemics. You're just trying to attack communism. You're not trying to actually talk about these things honestly.
Hostility.
You're the one trying to regress communism, dude.
You're doing the same thing he's doing.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of attacking.
Yeah.
Of authoritarian socialism towards worker control in the USSR can be further demonstrated by the...
I mean, this is exactly the kind of bullshit that I'm talking about. This is just polemical bullshit. He's not being honest. He's just trying to make propaganda and lie about communism.
You're the one to talk about that, buddy.
True.
Which is what these little liberal kids do.
I'm sorry.
Dude,
Look, I'm a big fan of Libertarian Socialist Rants, okay? I'm a big fan of him, okay? Last time I checked, he's very much not a liberal. In fact, I remember he used to be a liberal, but then he became anarchist.
It's like you're being the revisionist here, bud. You're the one that talks about fucking production value and shit, dude. You're a fucking revisionist. You're a value revisionist, okay? No one wants to hear you.
Sailors in Kronstadt made a series of 15 demands, and the Bolshevik government responded on March the 7th by attacking Kronstadt with some 60,000 troops.
What would you have them do? What if in anarchist Catalonia there was some group of workers who demanded that they don't want to follow the anarchist decisions anymore? They want to have their own decision-making body that's totally autonomous and totally separate, and they also want more money, and they want better clothes and more booze, and they don't want to be conscripted. Like, what would you what would you do in that circumstance?
Hold on. Dude, you have a state. If you care about socialism, listen to the workers. If they want better clothes, give them better clothes. If they want better wages, give them better wages. And if they want actual autonomy, give them actual autonomy.
Don't fucking be a dirty revisionist and go back on your word and say, oh yeah, we're gonna have delegates, but it's gonna be state delegates that are biased towards the state. At least, has some sort of, freedom and autonomy for the workers. Isn't that the point of social ownership?
No, but you see, cohesion.
Yeah.
Would you be like, oh, sure, I'm just gonna, we have created a legislature, but I'm just gonna wipe my ass with this legislature, and I'm just gonna let these random assholes somewhere totally ignore our laws and just do whatever they want.
Random assholes.
And I'm just gonna...
Not one of the biggest protests to happen within the USSR, just some random assholes.
Just some random assholes.
Yeah.
They want more money. Just give them more money. I mean, we don't have any money to give, but...
Wait.
Give them more money.
This is absolutely a terrible take. This state is the only person that can make money.
Yeah, also, number two, you realize that, also number two, let me just say something. They had to run, okay, one of your commanders, Trotsky, had to fucking run from a bunch of fucking sailors. Kronstadt was a fucking failure when it came to taking out Kronstadt for you guys. Fucking failure. That you guys threw men at the enemy. You didn't have any strategical importance to your attack. You just threw men at the enemy. So how was that any strategic value? Or for the matter of fact, that just wasted resources on a little tiny island. You couldn't get beat by a bunch of fucking sailors, dude.
They want better wages. They don't want to follow the law. Fine, we're just gonna tolerate that. I mean, fuck no, are you insane? You do that and you'll just watch your revolution, go up in flames. It's easy to complain, but unless you have some kind of, better...
I hate words like revolution because it's like this mass uprising. No, nothing's gonna come for us. Just face the fucking facts, you dipshit.
Wait, hold on. How is better wages and better clothes going to backstab the revolution? Isn't that what you're supposed to do?
That's as a prideful socialist that you are, shouldn't you care?
Wait a minute here, homie. You're talking like a capitalist right now. Hold on. That's not how you respond to workers.
Oh my god! Wait a minute. We could just replace revolution with business. Yeah, you give them all this, you watch your business go up in flames. So this guy is a revisionist.
Dude, what are you on about?
Yeah, exactly.
If they're asking for better wages and that violates the revolution, homie, you failed the revolution. Pack up. Go home. The experiment is over.
If they're asking for fucking capitalist reforms, you failed. That isn't their fault. You failed.
It's not even like Kronstadt. They were asking for capital. They were just asking for workers' control, which is what you were supposed to give.
Exactly. And you miserably failed to take out the island. You just threw them in. So you've miserably failed. It's just with the USSR, it's just failures upon failures upon failures. It doesn't do anything. They misallocate resources. It's like like, yeah, sure, they industrialized, but
they killed a lot of people in the process.
Yeah, they killed a lot of people in the process, and they constantly misallocated because of incompetent military commanders controlling the economy.
Better alternative to give, then it's just bullshit. That's why do you anarchists always complain about shit when you don't even have anything better to offer? I mean, that's called anti-communism. You're making anti-communist propaganda.
In April,
Hold on. Wait. First off, Magnovia, Paris Commune, Korean People Association of Manchuria. Secondly, hold on a minute. What do you mean anti-communist propaganda? Anti-communist propaganda would be saying the USSR is bad because it's communist. Libertarian Socialist Rants is saying that the USSR is bad because it's not communist enough.
Oh yeah. I forgot one more thing.
Rojava, Brudenhof Cup communities, Tolstoyan movement.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, we're both sorry.
Yeah, sorry, we got a little off right here. Sorry. Alright, let's continue.
1921, Lenin admitted the intentional implementation of state capitalism in Russia as the new economic policy, in which nationalization was slightly scaled back and some individuals outside of the state were allowed to own small enterprises.
Again, he doesn't give any kind of context to this. What does it mean by state capitalism? Well,
What?
Civil
Wait!
War, they had this thing.
God!
Wait! No! Dude! Lenin literally said state capitalism. It's not just like, oh, what does he mean by state capital? No, Lenin literally made the term state capitalism in that.
Yeah.
Called war communism.
Ignorance.
You're a failure, you little kid fiddler.
Okay. Well, what is war communism? War communism means that the state controls all industry and that the peasants still have their own land and they farm it as usual, but because it's war, the state is just gonna basically take all the excess grain that they produce at a fixed price. There's no free market. Instead, the state is just gonna take the grain at a fixed price so that it can sustain.
That doesn't sound nice.
Dang, that sounds like capitalism.
That doesn't
Look,
sound
I don't
nice.
even call the USSR state capitalist, but you're not making a great case against it, buddy.
Plus, you're making it sound absolutely terrible.
Oh, what happened to my grain?
What happened to the Ukrainians' grain? What happened? Now they're all starving. Thanks, Soviet Soviet officers or commissars. You made
I'll be
my
right back
ancestors
again.
starve.
I'll be right back again. You have fun talking about this.
But no, the whole point about this is stupid because it doesn't really sound good, and really doesn't come with a lot of people. It's like, yeah, we're gonna take your grain. We're gonna take your grain, and I'm like, and to capitalists will be like, what? You're gonna take my grain? Why? It's like, exactly. It's like you're doing shit for nothing. You're not even gonna feed yourself properly. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're gonna take your grain, and it's gonna be like, there's gonna be panic, like the Ukrainians in Holodomor. It's not, this doesn't sound good. You're making yourself sound like a dictator, and not really good. This is why I'm an anarcho-nihilist. All fucking traditional leftist methods are stupid. That's just undeniable. All methods of this traditional dog shit are all fucking stupid. They need to be, like, these methods haven't worked for 200 years. For fucking 200 years, yeah, sure. You control these amounts of territories on the earth. Good job. Good fucking job. Good riddance. It's like, dude, you know, all this shit about production value and, you know, we control these amounts of it doesn't mean anything to me because it's not fucking legitimate. It's not legitimate at all. And also, you worry about some mass revolution that's gonna come and swoop and save people. It's like, dude, get in fucking reality. There's not gonna be a mass revolution. It's gonna be individual insurrection doing this. I negate hope, I negate optimism, and I also negate pessimism. You gotta do shit. Yeah, that's why I hate pessimism. We can't be like fucking all optimistic and sitting on our asses, you know, waiting for the mass revolution or utopian revolution, because it's not gonna happen. And like I negate hope because, you know, this hope for this, this force that's gonna come down and save everybody, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It just doesn't. It just really doesn't. This is why I'm an anarchist nihilist. This is why I am. It's not that I didn't like fucking, you know, want to necessarily be an anarchist. I didn't want to. I just figured it out on my own. It's like, dude, get real here. Be real. Not gonna be a mass revolution. Not gonna be any of that. All there's gonna be you, your choices. And also, yeah, I probably went off topic, but who cares? I'm getting my point across here. Not gonna be some utopian mass revolution. I'm also stretching it because I don't want to wait for Nikolai to get here. Okay, it's not gonna be utopian mass revolution. It's not gonna be it's not gonna be all bullshit like that. It's not gonna fucking happen. Not gonna happen, as I proved before, and it's undeniable. Why don't you Marxists, like, get out of your thick skull and, fucking, think outside of the box for once. Do something productive for your ideology. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Oh my god. Sorry for the fucking rant. Just said I had to address that because they're using words like revolution and blah 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 blah. It's like nothing's gonna happen, dude. Get to your fucking senses. Get to your fucking senses, dude. Like, it's either you fucking, you get your shit all, you start individual insurrection, protests against the government or whatever, you do that shit. You don't fucking do bullshit and Nikki just sitting on your ass. That's what they want. It's a deception. It's all deception. If you wanna do a psyop, if you wanna war against another individual's mind, make them think that there's gonna be some mass utopian revolution. I'm onto this. That's what they want. That's literally what they want. It's undeniable. That's literally undeniable. That's what they want. They want to deceive you. They want to deceive you. As I say, I would say that in any warfare, mind warfare, psychological warfare, trench warfare, linear warfare, war is deception. War is deception. Think about that. War is deception. And they will deceive your mind and make it so that way you think there's some mass revolution. There's some mass utopian fucking revolution. That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Okay. But yeah. Not gonna be some utopian mass revolution. It's just not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Okay? Yeah, it's just not. But no. This is really not gonna happen. For a fact. It's what you don't fucking leftists get. It's that these traditional leftist methods have done nothing for us in the past two fucking centuries. 3 fucking centuries, whatever you think. It's done nothing. It's really done nothing. You should realize that. You should really fucking realize that. Because it's not good for the revolution. It's not good for your revolution. What this starts on is individual insurrection. Change change the community and the environment around you slowly and through a process, okay? Just do that. That for once. Think about this. Think about what I'm asking you. Think of this as something novel that you can take from. Okay? Not gonna get you anywhere. Literally not. This is why I'm a post-leftist. This is why I'm the way I am. This is why I'm opinionated. Because you fucking soft leftist Marxists don't get that, that this is not gonna work. This is not this is your revolution, your mass utopian revolution that's fucking revisionist to the ideas of insurrection and shit, the original ideas of insurrection and what we used to do. This is what do you call it? This is not something that's this is not just a waiting game. It's gonna happen through individual insurrection. We're gonna fucking it's not it's stupid. It's stupid. Get out and do something. Go out. Do something. For once. Okay. Should continue on the vid because I dragged that on for too long.
The war effort. That was war communism. Now, peasants didn't really like war communism, so when the war was over, Lenin was like, yeah, let's put an end to war communism. Because people don't really like it, so let's instead let the peasants sell their grain again. Because the peasants didn't like the fact that all the grain just gets taken at a fixed price. They would rather just sell it. So Lenin was like, yeah, let's implement this thing called New Economic Policy. And he said that the New Economic Policy essentially means state capitalism, because the state controls the industry, like it did before in war communism, but we also allow basically a limited grain market, like a limited market on agricultural production. So there's basically like two things going on. There's peasant economy and then there's state capitalist economy, but he just said that the state industries are predominant, so therefore like predominantly we're a state capitalist country at this stage. That's what it means. It doesn't mean that he wanted like state capitalism. He said that we'll do this state capitalism thing for like 10 or 20 years, and then when we have electrified and industrialized the country, then we can have socialism. But for now, we just need to revitalize the economy and rebuild after the war, and we need to let the peasants sell their shit voluntarily. It's not like they went from socialism back to state capitalism, because they didn't have socialism in war communism. Like, despite the name, war communism isn't actually communism. Some people criticize this decision, some people want to keep war communism, but Lenin told them that, war communism is not really socialism, it's just stricter state control. And he said that he thinks the new economic policy is a step back in the sense that it loosens the control of the state over the market. So he's allowing more markets temporarily, but it's still something they need to do in order to...
Here's the thing, socialism never happened. It stayed that way, it stayed predominantly that way for fucking years and years and years. It didn't turn into socialism. And I don't care if it's because, they were reformist, revisionists. You failed. You failed if they're asking for fucking capitalist reforms. You've already failed at that point. Failed. Roll that out of the window. You failed.
Build the fundamental prerequisites for socialism. But of course, this dishonest anarchist guy here is not gonna tell you any of that context. He's just gonna say, "Oh, he wanted state capitalism." Like, yeah. Like, fuck you.
I don't think he ever said that. I don't think he ever said that, dude. You're twisting words right now. Plus, you've done several whataboutisms and pivots. Like, get over your fucking self, dude.
This is the same if I was... Like, what if I acted like an anarchist? What if I said that, oh, well, the anarchists in Catalonia, they wanted concentration camps? What if I didn't give any kind of context? I was just like, oh, so they were basically like Nazis. Fuck that.
Historical evidence suggests that authoritarian socialist methods in Cuba and Russia have not only failed to produce a state and class-free society based on worker control over the means of production, but have also engaged in the active suppression of worker control over production as opposed to state capitalist nationalization.
Give me a fucking break. Historical evidence demonstrates that anarchism has never worked. Anarchists...
Novia. Korean People's Association. You get the fucking point, dude. Okay? You're fucking wrong. You're fucking wrong. I'm not even gonna address it.
Even when they've been in power, and even though they are the people who claim that they will just abolish the state immediately and set up a stateless society, they've never done that. Not only that, I mean, anarchists have never even stayed in power for a long time. So, I mean, anarchists don't have shit. They didn't even stay in power or actually build lasting social...
Oh yeah, we crushed you. Yeah, we crushed you. Haha, funny. It's like, get a fucking dude.
Socialism, let alone like stateless communism. Anarchism is a joke. All you people can do is complain about actually existing socialism because you're a bunch of useless liberals who can't handle the harsh reality.
This is you're literally a fucking you are literally a fucking revisionist to, you know, communism in itself, dude. You don't have any room to speak. What, you held territory? Okay? Yeah, and you fucking misallocated resources. Good for you. Good for fucking you!
That maybe in a revolutionary situation you're gonna need some discipline and some rules and some hierarchy and people telling other people what to do. I mean,
You're sounding like a bourgeois capitalist.
Yeah, it's not very nice. It's not like all just roses and butterflies, but that's the way life is. He calls the Soviet economic model state capitalist nationalization. Why? I mean, most of the means of production were not even in the state sector. They were in the collective farm sector, which were not state-owned. But he doesn't care. I mean, he calls it state capitalist nationalization.
Yeah, farming, collective farming. That were controlled by the state. Have any sources? Let me check if this guy has sources. Ooh. Might want to check that out later on my...
He doesn't care, like, how is it state capitalist? State capitalism is when there's capitalism but the state just owns it. Why do I need to keep repeating this? Why do I need to keep trying to explain this to anarchists? The Soviet Union, in its later years, became market socialist, which in my opinion is not real socialism. But, I mean, I still wouldn't call it state capitalism, because state capitalism is a very specific thing, and we can...
If you want to look at a real example of market socialism, look at the Tito's Yugoslavia. There was nothing like the Soviet Union. Actually went against the Soviet Union majorly throughout Tito's reign. And also number two, I guess Tito.
Hello? Sorry about that.
But yeah,
anyways, hi. Where are we on right now? Hi, I'm back.
3617. I'm continuing.
Let's see. What have I missed out on?
Basically stupid shit like him insulting anarchists over and over again. You know, the whole revisionist shebang.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah, if you really want to look at an example of Marxist socialism, look at Tito, in the Yugoslavia. But when it comes to no, they weren't market socialists. They were state capitalists. That's just a fact. They privatized more, but they turned state. They were arguably more state capitalists, since they still told people, limit their basically tell private businesses what to do and shit. It's allocating resources.
Can actually define what it is, so don't just go throwing these terms around like they don't mean anything, because they have a specific meaning, and
you've done that so much, dude. You have no room to speak.
You can see that obviously the Soviet Union doesn't fit that, but of course he has to do this because he can't admit that the Soviet Union was socialist. He knows that anarchism has never achieved lasting socialism, so therefore he's gonna have to argue that neither has Marxism.
Let's just not
even
even
though,
address this.
Marxism was a system that created a camp of socialist countries that basically consisted of half the globe, and it lasted for like 70 years, while anarchists have only stayed in power for like a couple of years in tiny territories.
And I mean that negatively. Hold on. Wait, in order for Marxism-Leninism to survive, you need a state that's ruled by a vanguard. And because a state necessarily needs to defend itself from other states, of course you survive for longer. If we actually look within the examples of anarchism, a lot of the time these were fairly small.
Yeah.
And even then, they still had military stuff propping it up.
Yeah, exactly.
With massive communist backing, by the way. I mean, I love how anarchists always blame their own losses on everyone else. They're like, oh, if only the Soviets didn't stab us in the back. I mean, Soviet government was the only government who helped the Spanish to fight the fascists. If the anarchists were so much better than the communists, they shouldn't have even needed Soviet help. They basically survived only with massive Soviet backing and massive...
No, they didn't. Okay, yeah. But yet again, as I said, southern Ukrainian, we beat the Soviets, fed the Red Army on the campaign on Denikin's army for fucking months. And also,
in America, America, you depend on the Soviet Union. In Russia, the Soviet Union depend on you. God, I brought that meme back from like 2010. Christ.
What do you call? Oh yeah, and also, basically they were both fairly dependent on each other. If you've even studied the Russian Revolution, and you know this.
Massive backing from the Republic of Spain. Like, these people, they never even define what worker control is. They're just, oh, we want worker control. If the state is involved...
You never do, too. You actually take away worker control.
Then it's not worker control. There's gonna have to be some kind of centralized decision making.
By the way, that rant that took very long was I forgot to tell you, was basically an anarcho-nihilist rant on how there's not going to be a utopian mass revolution.
Based,
even in anarchism. And what I mean by that is that even if you have like you got these. Let's say you have these deputies from all the localities who get together and they decide what do we do nationwide. Like, okay, we got our own local things, but what do we do nationwide? Because we do want to have a nationwide plan, right? You do at least want that, right? A nationwide economic plan. So then let's say these deputies from all these localities, they get together and they make this nationwide plan. That plan has to be somewhat binding on the localities, or otherwise it's just pointless, I mean, I know anarchists like to complain that,
Hold on, wait, binding on the locality. Hold on. saying that it has to be binding leaves room for a lot of weird things. Like, what happens if a disaster comes along? What happens if there's a sudden boost in demand for another product that wasn't necessarily accounted for within the plan?
Why do we have...
By the way, what do you call it? I'm gonna be right back. How about when I get back? How about since I'm the one pausing the videos, how about when I get back, how about you just watch this video all the way through, but when I get back, which will be fairly soon, you just respond, okay? Tell me what I missed out on, okay?
I can give them a rant about this specific point if you like.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, alright. Wonderful. So, here's the issue. Of course, you can agree with, we could talk between state authorities and local governments in order to properly make up, some plan of sorts. And sure, that's all fine and dandy, but the thing is that you have to recognize that, well, first off, this is only really representative of what today wants. You can't really account for what happens in the near future if you have a centralized plan that everyone has to follow, which is a little intriguing to say the least. Like, for example, within Paracon, even though, yes, we do agree to a plan of sorts, it is not necessarily binding. It is just a general idea of what we're going to make. And it's so that way we can account, for example, let's say that air conditioners, we thought we only need 35,000. Well, turns out this summer was especially high. And now we need twice that. We need 70,000. A central plan where it is enforced to follow the 35,000, well, you're gonna die. So you need to account for that when we're talking about binding central plans. I find this a little weird. And also, here's the thing. If you have the locals talking about it with the state, would it then not mean that the locals would follow that plan? At least mostly. Why would you need a state in order to look over that?
Back.
Why?
Back.
Let's
keep continuing with the video.
Have to abide by these rules that we have all agreed to, but I mean, again, what is the point of even having democracy if none of the decisions that were democratically made are binding? So realistically speaking, we're gonna have to have some kind of centralized decision making together with localized decision making.
You cannot have centralized and localized decision making. That's just something you cannot do. Which the Soviets attempted, and they fucking misallocated resources, miscommunication, and incompetency. It was absolutely a disaster.
Or otherwise, it's not fucking communism. It's not even socialism. I mean, again, I would point you to Catalonia because they had.
I'm sorry, it's always the same thing. It's always Catalonia. Please, think of other things.
Catalonia, get more fucking creative, dude.
Centralized decision making like that. Basically, I mean, anarchists.
By the way, this video is gonna be longer because we're probably just gonna react all the way through because we have enough time.
Yeah, whatever.
Just need
Could
to
be
define
worse,
their terms better and explain themselves better because I don't understand why anything the anarchists do, no matter how centralized or bureaucratic or whatever, it's always considered stateless and wonderful and worker control. But when the Marxists have something, then it's never considered worker control. I mean, that's how anarchists roll, I guess.
For further evidence that authoritarian socialist means do not achieve the desired ends of a state and class-free society, we can look at the history of Marxist-Leninist governments, not only as institutions which subordinate the working class to the coordinator class during their rule, but also as institutions which have historically recapitulated to corporate capitalism.
What about when the Spanish anarchists told the Republic of Spain that we'll do anything if you just give us money? What is that? if not capitulation.
Wait, that's not
capitalism.
Wait. That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as going to corporate capitalism. Asking for money is not the same thing as corporate capitalism. What? Like, yeah, you'll need money. Guess what? The CNT, their inflation was through the roof, my guy. Okay? Their living standards were not particularly great. Okay? It was kind of bound to where they would have to have asked for money from something. Okay? Like, I hate to break it to you, partner. Ugh.
I just fall out of my fucking chair.
Nice. Alright, let's continue the video.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
By the CNT, were compelled to seek government intervention to secure financial aid, both in Catalonia.
How about okay? Do you want to just give a rant because I gotta get some.
Yeah, let's go for it. Yeah, so I guess just in general, I guess for now I could probably point people to. Let's see if I can load this up real fast. I have this fantastic little that talks about collectivization. There we go. Albert Weisbord's Collectivization in Catalonia. And it basically talks about collectivization within Catalonia, obviously, and it talks about the experiences of the workers there once everything was collectivized and whatnot. Generally speaking, if I remember correctly from reading this, although, like I said before, living standards were fairly low, inflation was pretty high. The workers were cited within Albert Weisbord to have generally just been more happier when it came to just being able to own what they just what they needed to make. So let me see. I'll quote this paragraph. I asked the workers, since they were toiling harder than before, just what did they consider were the benefits of trade union collectivization. The material benefits, they informed me, were not very great. They obtained work clothes, one summer and two winter uniforms each, worth 64p and 170p respectively, as did the office workers. They got 2 weeks vacation with pay and full salary when sick, but on the whole, since the cost of living had gone so high, the material conditions were not better. But what was decisive to them were the moral questions involved. They were now masters of their own destiny, they proudly declared. They controlled their own means of production. They had a future ahead of them. This was the attainment which they were ready to give their lives. The union men in Barcelona gleefully contrasted their syndicate with that tramway men in Madrid, controlled by a general labor union, Socialist Stalinists. In Barcelona, they said, all members of the regional and national committees are working men who must be taken from their jobs to become officers of the union. They draw the pay of only the average worker, as do those syndicalists who are ministers in the government. The dues of the members are 1.5 pesetas a month. The Madrid Union, on the other hand, men in Barcelona affirmed, had not called a single meeting from July 1936 to May 1937. Bureaucracy had been increased and old officials of the company had been kept on with the old pay. National Committee of the UGT has full power and works entirely from above, an executive nominating the men for their chief positions. However, I got the distinct impression that matters were not so much different within CNT in some respects, since the officials admitted that at last CNT Congress, elastic powers for emergencies had been given to the national executive, powers which that small body had used to call out the last general strike of the workers on May 3rd to May 7th without the consent of the men themselves. So not only have I demonstrated that, yes, although there were weird pseudo state stuff when it came to how the CNC acted. Generally speaking, even though the living standards were fairly expensive, then they couldn't really like get it. The ultimate thing when it came to owning the means of production there was ultimately just I guess like happiness of sorts. That they're able to determine their own lives now that they're able to own what they use to make stuff with.
Yeah.
But aside from that,
are basically there are a bunch of people who like socialism, but they've been taught by capitalist propaganda to be afraid of communism. They would like socialism, but they're just too afraid of communism to actually be socialists.
What?
Because what is libertarian?
What about anarcho-communists?
Yeah.
Socialism. What is anarchism? Or anarcho-communism? Anarcho-communism, it's basically communism which is perfect. It's communism that has never existed and that is perfect. As soon as
sorry to cut you out, buddy, but communism on its own, not anarcho-communism. At least anarcho-communism has existed.
Homie, what do you think? What do you think anarcho-communists tried to do? It's called it's called fighting for it.
Yeah.
As you have communism in real life, it's not going to be perfect. So it's not going to be good enough for the anarcho-communist. So instead, they will put their faith in this thing that has never existed and that is never going to exist. And they're just going to say that we have this perfect version of communism, which is impossible and it has never existed, but we have this and it's perfect.
Wait a minute.
Naive.
Hold on a second here. If you're saying that communism is impossible, why are you a Marxist?
Yeah.
The whole point of Marxism is to get to communism.
Yeah. So are you not a Marxist now? Have you finally conceded to your revisionist tendencies?
This is what? What is this nonsense here?
I bet he's getting so pissed off watching this. If he was watching this, I bet he's getting pissed off at me calling.
And liberal-minded people will find that appealing. They're like, oh, you got this perfect version of communism. It's like communism, except there's no poverty ever, and there's no war ever, and there's no authority. So I guess that's pretty cool, right?
Wait,
yeah, it would be cool.
Wait, that's what communism is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be no poverty. It's supposed to be no war. It's supposed to be no authority. What are you on about?
Yeah.
What do you think a stateless, classless society is?
Differentiate anarcho-communism from traditional communism is that basically what anarcho-communism does is it gets rid of all hierarchy. All hierarchies exist. Yet again, communism doesn't specify whether there is any hierarchy or not. So that's the difference.
Can't exist. Let's address
the difference between anarcho-communism and traditional communism is that anarcho-communism is better.
And it's actually been tried.
Question that anarchists just can't wrap their mind around. Like, why did the Soviet Union not have stateless communism? Well, why did the Spanish anarchists not have stateless communism? Why? They were anarchists. They
because they both violated the goals that they wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe that's why?
So why not? Well, let me think about this for a minute. Would it have something to do with maybe the fact that there's like fascists coming at them with fucking tanks and like bombers and airplanes? What is the Marxist theory of the withering away of the state? The withering away of the state will happen when the state serves no function anymore. Anarchists think
Yeah, has the state of her.
If you're in a wait, hold on. If a fascist, and especially powerful one, mind you, like Hitler's Germany, or Franco for Spain, if a state is willing to fight you, how long until the fighting is over?
Exactly. And your Republican ass has failed anyways.
Think that the state just perpetuates itself. But that's because they're not materialists, okay? Let's get real. You can't get rid of the state when this massive class contradiction exists.
Taste non-materialism.
Hey, hold on. Here's the thing. I'm gonna bring this up again. The state is founded in imperialism, and I'm gonna be real, it's the only reason why imperialism exists in the first place. Okay? If you have a state, you need to do imperialism. I'd hate to break it to you, partner. If you want to get rid of imperialism, don't get rid of capitalism only. Get rid of statism. Simple.
Yeah.
You can try, but it's not gonna fucking happen. Which is why it didn't. The anarchists wanted to get rid of the state, but they couldn't. They found themselves
Magnovia, KPAM, the Paris Commune, Brudenhof communities, Tolstoyan movement, the Diggers, like...
Oh, okay.
All these centralized decision-making bodies, they found themselves taking more and more stricter control of everything in society. They found themselves building prison camps for their enemies and crushing dissent, because that's what happens in revolution, in massive class
That's what happens when you have a state.
So, can you honestly say that during the Cold War there was no class contradiction? Well, obviously not. There was massive class contradiction. So, there you go. That is why the Soviet Union didn't get rid of the state. The state will only wither away when it's not needed anymore. And it'll wither one branch at a time.
Authoritarian socialists also defend taking state power on the grounds that doing so is necessary for a transition from capitalism to socialism, just as it was necessary for a transition from feudalism to capitalism. The problem with this argument is that the transition from feudalism to capitalism was merely a transition from one form of class society to another. On the other hand, the same cannot be said of socialism, which aims at the abolition of class society altogether.
Again, here we see the difference between anarchism and Marxism. Anarchists are not real materialists. They don't think about these things materialistically. They don't even think about these things concretely. You can't abolish class society just like that. It's gonna be a relatively gradual process. Like, yeah, you can overthrow the bourgeoisie and you can take state power. Okay, then what? I mean, you still have a class society. There's a bunch of capitalists and there's a bunch of workers. The workers just happen to be in control now.
Wait.
Okay.
Wait,
hold on. Get rid of.
Hold on. Why are you calling yourself a revolutionary? Just say you're a reformist now.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry. Look, if you want to be a social democrat, like if you want to go back to social democracy's Marxist roots, you could do that. No one's stopping you, okay? No one's stopping you for this. Frankly speaking, I think you'd be more respectful if you came of Marxist stock then. But the issue is that if you also, again, Magnovia, Paris Commune, KPAM, the Diggers, Tolstoyan movement, like I could go on. Here's the thing, sure, a lot of society has a lot of states. We can agree with that. But the issue is that it is not that because there is a lot of powerful nations within today that we must require a state. No, that's not the point. The point is organization. And of course, you can either have very tight-knit organization that's more decentralized, like what I most likely promote. You can have more informal organization.
That's
me! And that's you. And of course, you can have a state. But the thing is that with a state, its only purpose is that organization against other states. But the thing is that, well, you can't exactly just get rid of a state. Because we've been fighting for quite a while, and even though we've changed regimes, we haven't gotten rid of the state. Now, can that maybe because a lot of people fighting are capitalists? Sure, we can maybe say that. But the general point is just that, well, you can't exactly wither away, because it's not meant to wither away.
Oh shit.
It just doesn't have. Is that the transition from feudalism to capitalism was merely a transition.
Anarchists are not real materialists. You can set up collectives.
Based anti-materialism.
There's still going to be a bunch of capitalist-minded people running around, and a bunch of communist-minded people running around. It's still going to be a society with two opposing classes in it.
Ascribes autonomy of action to the state that it just doesn't have, by underestimating the extent to which capitalist economic relations are built into the functioning of the state apparatus.
Where did that come from? He's saying that capitalist economic relations are built into the state. What kind of relations are those? There's capitalist states where capitalists control everything and capitalists have capitalism, you know. But then there's states where there's no capitalists and capitalists don't control anything. So how is capitalism built into the state?
Most significantly, the hierarchical division of labor.
Okay, I feel like I should probably explain this. Okay. Okay, can we go back a bit just so that we don't mess out on the original clip?
Capitalists don't control anything.
Reason...
So how is capitalism built into the state?
Most significantly, the hierarchical division of...
Can we pause real fast? So, the point is that when we look at the functions of the state, we can find that capitalism is basically statism's most pure form. We find that, for example, the exploitation that we see when it comes to workers between bosses and whatnot. We can see that very same thing when it comes to the state, especially with how it treats its state employees. Look at how many army officers get, like, PTSD for crying out loud. And along with this as well, again, imperialism is necessary if you're a state. Which Lenin, although he is technically right in that imperialism does form within capitalism quite a bit, it is not necessarily because it is capitalism and that you need to expand capital, but rather you need to expand power with a state. And thus, imperialism.
Yep.
Labor that inevitably comes with a centralized government.
Division of labor is not capitalism. Like, are you kidding me? Division of labor is like, oh, this guy works in agriculture, this guy works in industry. Instead of both of them work in both things. That's not what capitalism is. Capitalism has a very specific definition. Capitalism is when there's a capitalist who employs proletarians and exploits their labor.
The possibility of the coordinator class voluntarily just giving up the means of production to the working class during a socialist revolution seems extremely unlikely.
You don't understand how things work, okay? You just don't. Why do you
It's like, you just don't.
expect...
Just don't, that's all. You just don't. You just don't. I got it, dude.
I love when you barely respond to the argument and you just, like, complain.
Yeah.
That the socialist state
stellar way to open an argument.
Hand over the means of production.
Yeah.
To who? To, like, random groups of people?
The workers!
Random groups of workers. Why? What would that accomplish? That's not...
It would accomplish me fucking your mom last night.
He is...
I don't care at this point.
No, this is not even socialism now. I'd say you're a fascist, but I think fascists are more consistent with their ideology than this. It's... Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Communism.
Make the state give means of production away? To who?
Yeah,
the workers.
The workers.
Property anymore.
That worker.
We need to get rid of private property instead of dividing private property anew. The state seizes the industry, and then, there's going to be a certain amount of people working in co-ops. Now, the co-ops are a good transition away from small private production to a bit bigger collective production, okay? But they're not ideal. You know, inevitably and eventually, the co-ops are gonna have to merge together into bigger units that cooperate with each other, and they're gonna have to merge with the state as well, and basically, eventually, all production and all enterprises are gonna have to kind of merge together into one whole where people cooperate, and nobody really owns this or that factory or enterprise, and it's just one big thing where everyone kind of owns it collectively. That's what communism is. So to conclude, his video mostly relies on distortions of history and a number of strawman arguments. He claims that anarchism can
Distortion of history. I'm sorry. Correctly citing Lenin is not distorting history. I'd hate to break it to you.
You've distorted history 10 times more than him, dude. You have no room to speak.
True.
And what is this image, anyways? What the fuck is this image? Are you trying to fucking
Blasphemy, that's what.
I bet you jerk off to this at night when you fantasize about like fucking Lenin, dirty fucking Lenin Stalin sex at night. Okay? Okay, fuck you. Fuck you, you little kid fiddler.
What's that one, a Night with Stalin meme? It's like a Steam game, Night with Stalin, where you date Joseph Stalin.
This person was a child molester, and this person is a liar.
Can defend itself against its enemies just fine, and blames all of anarchism's defeats and failures on everyone except the anarchists. He claims that the Magnamists and the CNTFA in Catalonia created stateless, class-free societies, which is not true. In fact, they created their own dictatorships, their own states, which were...
I've already discussed this in a video of mine. Check it out.
Fairly similar to other revolutionary states. His entire argument rests on the preconceived notion that anarchism has created stateless communism, which is a totally unsubstantiated claim. From there, he proceeds to use a moral argument that
you have used so many moral arguments, it's unbelievable.
Hierarchical methods are immoral and unethical, therefore we shouldn't use them, and then he goes on to attack socialism based on that, saying that since anarchism has created statelessness, we can't use hierarchical methods. But of course, anarchism hasn't actually created statelessness, and it hasn't even survived or been able to actually spread or in any way really challenge world capitalism. He doesn't really go on in any detail to explain what worker control means, but he just pretty much states that whenever Marxists do something, then it's not worker control, and whenever the anarchists do something, then it's worker control, even if their methods are basically very similar. One is always worker control, one is never worker control. So basically anything the anarchists do is fine, anything the Marxists do is always bad, and if the anarchists themselves don't manage to survive, then it's always someone else's fault and never their own fault. Well, that's a very convenient ideology you got there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate. He uses exclusively anarchist sources for his information, for all of his claims. In his description, he links his sources.
Exclusively Wait. Hold on. Exclusively anarchist information. Homie, we're directly quoting from Lenin.
Yeah. You're stupid.
The couple Lenin quotes, which he takes out of context, they're all literally anarchist books. Also, his notion that the socialist state is supposed to somehow achieve communism by handing over, quote-unquote, the means of production to the individual groups of workers is either based on a dishonest strawman or simply a total misunderstanding of
what based on Marx
state actually means. Not to mention that
handing over of means
production never actually happened in anarchism either. Again, returning to the classic argument, if the anarchists are doing it, then it's okay and it's worker control, and if the Marxists are doing it, then it's not worker control, no matter what. No matter if they're co-ops and collectives and not state-owned or what. Doesn't matter.
Okay, wait.
Holy
oh
shit, that video was...
All right.
Oh! Whoa,
Yeah.
that
All
was
right.
really
So
something!
let's summarize. Let me summarize my thoughts on this. This was, in general, a very bad misunderstanding of what Libertarian Socialist Rants was trying to get at. Although, yes, there are criticisms to be made of Catalonia, none of us are denying that. The issue is that, at least for Finnish Bolshevik, he's done so much whataboutism, he's done so much straw manning, he's done so much misunderstanding of not only Marxism, but basically socialism as a whole, and just in general bad arguments. He really did not do his best here. He really didn't. 1 week ago. Oh wait, he's still active? Wait, what? Oh god. Well, okay. Well, hi Finnish Bolshevik. If you're watching this, we hate you. Please talk to us.
Please respond to us. That would do us a big favor. Please. No, seriously, please. What if he's like watching this and says, okay, and oh yeah.
Hello, comrades. I'm currently in the process of editing.
Wait a minute here. I love the irony. I love the irony that Finbol criticizes
the Russian state collapse.
He criticizes Libertarian Socialist Rants for citing only anarchist sources. Yet the sources are literally himself.
Yeah, oh yeah. By the way, we're gonna watch this video in the next video, okay? So
Yeah,
anyways,
I'll be off likely for the next video, but
okay.
Lord, this was a mess.
Wait, you'll be off?
Well, yeah, because I need to sleep.
Oh no, I mean, we're doing this next video. We're both doing this. Basically when you're asleep or whatever, or asleep. Not asleep. Okay. Okay.
Right.
This is the next video. Like and subscribe. Goodbye, besties.
Goodbye, besties.